Awesome. I'm here with Sam, who goes by informal dot, and I want to just start by getting some of your background. Like, how did you get into music in the first place, and how did you launch informal, and everything about that?
So kind of to get back all the way to the beginning, I guess, this is probably the typical, but my parents like played a lot of music in the house growing up. There was always music on at night and a lot of like Led Zeppelin, Eagles, Beatles, Van Morrison, the Stones. My dad listened to Steely Dan, Leonard Skinner, Dire Straits. So always listening to music growing up. And then, you kind of get to the age where you start making your own musical discoveries that aren't just what your parents listen to or what's on the radio. And for me, that was about in high school. Um, and when I discovered like electronic music, and this is gonna sound crazy, but I watched the 2011 Tomorrowland After movie when that came out, and that I swear to God, like I know this sounds corny, but that video like changed my life. Like I watched that video of the after movie of the festival, and at the time, electronic music was like really big in Europe. It wasn't as big in America, and it wasn't like mainstream. You weren't hearing like Calvin Harris on the radio. Everything on the radio was like hip hop and R&B and pop. So electronic was still kind of this underground, but was kind of coming to the forefront of pop culture. Um, and so I had never seen anything like that. I watched this video and I'd never seen the amount of energy in one place, and everybody's just so ecstatic, happy, and the music was crazy stuff I'd never heard. I'd never heard anything like that before. And then to see it visually at the same time, I was hooked. I was like, this is awesome. I love this. So I really became obsessed with electronic music about then, 2011. Then, I'd look forward to the after movie every year. And I was just kind of a fan of electronic music then, up through high school. And then, so I was really big into that, like progressive house, big room house era in like late high school. This is like 2011, 12, 13, 14. Then I go to college, and you kind of, as it is, it's kind of like a melting pot. You're getting a bunch of people from all different walks of life, all different places, all in one place. It's not just the same kids you've been hanging out with for 15 years. So I started to discover different genres of electronic music. Like I said, I was all like progressive house, and then I'm meeting people who are listening to dubstep and trap and mid tempo and you know um, things like that. And future bass was kind of coming in, slowly. So kind of got exposed to a lot more electronic music, and it kind of broadened my horizons. So then I really got into it, and started discovering all these new artists and all these new genres, and started going to shows more, because in my local where I went to school, they had a little theater, and like DJs would come and they'd play shows, and started going to a lot of those. And then I thought, this is pretty cool. I'd love to like learn how to DJ. So I bought this little crappy DJ controller, this little Tractor S2. It was used. It was all banged up. Like half the buttons didn't work, and started DJing on that. And within a couple weeks, I was like, this is cool, but like I really want to know how to make the music. Like it's cool hit and play and mixing one song into another, but like I want to learn how to make this music. And so about that time, like people like Alesso were huge, Swedish House Mafia, Afrojack, Eves V, Martin Garrix was coming up really big. Those guys were huge. So I remember just Googling. I remember downloading an illegal version of Ableton, a cracked version of Ableton. I bought it now. I have it legit now. So don't come after me. But I downloaded this version of Ableton that only worked like half the time. And I remember Googling how to make music like Alesso. And I don't know if the video is still on YouTube, but it's this video I watched like 25 times and did word for word exactly what the guy was doing. And it sounded terrible, obviously. But that was kind of the beginning of the journey. It was like, this cracked software trying to make music like these guys that I had found in the Tomorrowland After movie. Um, and then from there, I just really, really dove into it and just kind of became obsessed with it. I was always liked music, but never was like, never played any instruments growing up or anything. So I didn't know anything about music theory or any notes, scales, chords, anything. I just had to learn inside of Ableton. All of my knowledge came from just trying stuff and watching videos of people making music, and like they'd say like, oh, this is an F minor chord. I'm like, what does that mean? And then I'm like Googling chords, and I've got the chord sheet printed out now. And so it was really just like I just kind of dove into it, trial by fire thing. And then um did some courses online, like this school out of London, this music school, Point Blank, did like an online thing. So while I'm going to school for business full time, I'm also like I come home at night, and then I'm like doing these online classes and then producing and trying to do that. So and then towards the end of college, I realized I really want to pursue music. I'm really liking this. It's like 2018. I'm really loving music. I've put out a couple tracks that are whatever, and I really want to pursue this. And then I moved to LA. That was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Um, and I've just been doing it ever since. It's all, peaks and troughs, like you go really hard for a while and then something happens and it kind of disrupts your path and you got to
Mhm.
go work a full time for a minute and put the music aside, whatever. But these past 3 or 4 years have just been go, 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 constantly putting out as much music as possible and learn as much as I can. And I think my sound still because I kind of came up in that 2011 when I found electronic music, that sound with just like big anthemic, massive side chain pumping, super energetic, happy kind of stuff, I feel like that still influences my sound. I don't ever make anything that's like dark or mysterious. It's all like upbeat, kind of really high energy. So I think that that's still that. Like I could tell you what's going on at 3 minutes and 23 seconds in that Tomorrowland after movie. Like I've seen it 1,000 times. So like that is just like my Bible. It still gets me going to this day. If I need to get hyped up for a party, I put on the Tomorrowland 2011 after movie. So that's kind of the whole journey. Sorry to ramble there, but that's kind of everything from the beginning of finding music to where we are today. And then, I got with my manager about a year ago, and then we've just been grinding out ever since as a team now, which is a lot better to have somebody to bounce everything off of, because it was just me for a long time. Just didn't know how to, just trying everything, trying all the marketing techniques, all the social media, putting out all sorts of music, just kind of learning,
Mhm.
doing everything myself, looking over contracts by myself, doing everything by myself. So to have a team is huge. So that's a newer thing.
Mhm. Awesome, man. So you started really with like no experience in music at all. You just had to
None.
learn.
Yeah, didn't. Yeah, never had played an instrument ever in my life, and learned that later. You know what I mean? My first music knowledge came. I learned to produce before I learned how to like play any chords on the guitar. I just learned to play guitar like a couple of years ago, recently, because my roommate was just shreds, and I would be like, "How do you play that?" And he'd like sit me down and show me, and like I bought a piano and then learned how to play that. So, but this is years after producing. I could like write a chord progression in Ableton that was,
Mhm.
I think is beautiful, and then someone would be like, "Oh, play your song on the piano." I'd be like, "I have no idea how to do that. Like, I could not play this my own music. I couldn't play it for people unless I showed them what I was doing." So, yeah,
Yeah, man. So
kind of
you
starting from
draw it
scratch in
in on
Ableton.
Ableton?
Well, now I do both. I'll draw it in, or I'll play fiddle around on the keyboard and play something, but almost all the time it's just straight into Ableton. And I like to use like a source. I do this thing I call micro sampling. I don't know if that's the right term for it, but there's sampling, like where you take a section of a record and you kind of loop it or you chop it. And I do a lot of that, but I do this other thing that I call micro sampling, which is really just sampling, but you essentially take like a quarter second of the audio of a sample and then like duplicate that a bunch of times, and that'll make like a
Mhm.
sound. You know what I mean? Imagine just like someone sings and the tail end of the reverb of their note, you grab like the littlest part of that and you loop it, and it makes like a and then you can pitch that
Mhm.
and I sometimes write like that, which is a really weird, doesn't make any sense. If somebody sat and watched me do it, they'd be like, "What the hell is this guy doing?" It doesn't make any sense. You're just cutting up silence and turning it way up, but like, there's harmonics and stuff buried in there. So I like to write like that, and then I'll figure out what chords I just wrote with those little chopped up samples that are layered, and then I can write those in on the MIDI, and then program a synth to play the same chords that those audio chops are playing. So a lot of times I
Mhm.
just start with audio, like even if it's like I said, like a half second of something, or it's a really weird way of doing it. I know I've never seen anybody do it like that, but it works for me. Maybe it usually takes longer than just obviously sitting down. I wish I could sit down at a keyboard and just play something that's in my head, but
Mhm.
I'm just not that good of a keys player. So I had to resort to, it was almost out of necessity. I had to resort to how else am I going to get songs down, because I can't sit down and play the guitar. I can't sit down and play the piano. I have to do this.
Mhm. You found
So
your
I
own
developed.
unique workflow, pretty much.
Yeah, it's an interesting workflow, and it works for me. You know what I mean? Some cool stuff comes out of it, and especially when you start getting all the processing going and you start, duplicating stuff and side chaining stuff and doing call on responses back and forth and reversing stuff. And, a lot of plugins have like, the old Guitar Rig. I still use like the oldest version of Guitar Rig from Contact, and they have like all these cool like auto pan LFO tools that you can use to chop stuff up and make it go back and forth. So that's how I do it, I guess.
Cool, man. Yeah, good to learn more about your process. And I also wanted to talk about you starting from nothing and then coming to this place where you make very professional, clean, good sounding music. What was
Thank you.
that like? How long did that take, and how did you do it?
Years, like I said, I the first couple things you make, especially with, I like you said, starting from nothing. I didn't. not only could I not make a good sound like sonically when I started out because I didn't know anything about production, I didn't know anything about music theory either. So like it's not like the chords were nice and pretty, but the sounds were crappy. It was all bad. Like the chords were bad, and the melodies were bad, and the sound was bad. So it was really bad. Um, so that online school I took helped a bit, I think, because I'd pull up a tool like a compressor, let's say, and I would twist knobs and it would change the sound, and that was cool. But I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea what that even meant. I had no idea whatever. So the school, the online course was nice. It was like a couple months, I think, because they pull up a compressor and they say this is what this does. And I mean, I could have just done that on YouTube. Now I probably spent money on this course for nothing when it was a good school. Don't get me wrong, but it's just every day just opening up Ableton and trying stuff, like I heard this once when I first started, and I think it's really true. It took me a long time to realize this, but trying to replicate what you hear is like the most valuable thing ever. Like if you hear some song that you really like, you're like, how did he make that synth, or what? That's so clean. What is that? You like, after a long enough of playing with synths and, different tools, you can kind of reverse engineer something you hear. You hear some, and you're like, oh, that's clearly like a sine wave that's got a little bit of distortion and some noise on top. That's where that sound, I mean, you can hear the woo woo. Okay, that's what that is. Why does it sound like this? And then you start replicating things and you figure out how your favorite artists are doing what they do. Even if you can't get it exactly, you can kind of get an idea of how they started to get there. And then it's just like every day, like I said, I spend hours just tweaking over sounds and trying new things. And I have hundreds of songs I made that'll never see the light of day, that you scrap. And it's just consistent trying new things, trying new things, trying new things, and just not being afraid to break the rules. People are like, oh, you should never put reverb on a kick or whatever. Put reverb on a kick, dude. What? I mean, what's gonna happen? Nothing. Try it. Oh, it sounds bad. Cool. Oh, it sounds good. Great. Leave it. Oh, you need to EQ all the low end out of your hi hats. Maybe you don't. Maybe you leave them in there, and that gives the drums an extra cool whatever. So just trying as many things as you can, breaking the rules. For years, I've just been opening up Ableton and just trying random stuff. Um, and you start to, you get your workflow, you develop your sound. I think that takes a super long time. I feel like I'm just recently getting into what my sound is. At least people tell me, they're like, oh, this is your sound. This is totally you. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like I'm just making music, and whatever happens, happens. But, for years, like I said, because you're just trying to replicate what you hear, you don't sound like anything. But it's when you can replicate what you can take all your influences and then also what's unique about your workflow and make that into one thing, and that's your sound. My sound is all the influences I've had throughout the years. Like I said, that progressive house era still very prevalent in my stuff. And then, the past several years of making music all culminate into what your sound is. And I think it just takes time, you know what I mean? Like I just recently am feeling like my music is like quote professional quality. I'm not like I still hear other people. I'm like, God, I'll never be as good as that guy. That guy's mix is so clean. How does he do that? But I feel like recently I'm getting to the point where I'm like, okay, this holds up. You play this song in a playlist with other professional records. This can sit in there. So it just takes a lot of time, and I think I still got a ways to go, to be honest.
Yeah.
But that's the process. You know what I mean? You fall in love with that. You fall in love with every day you're getting better, and every song is better than the next one, and you're stoked. You're like, fuck yeah, this one's sick. This is the best thing I've ever made. And then 2 months from now, you're gonna make another song. It's your best song you ever made. So it's just a constant. I think it's just a constant battle with yourself. And you gotta love that. And I think that's how you get better.
Yes.
That's what's worked for me. Yeah, that's what's worked for me.
Awesome, man. And that you've been doing this for a long time. Did you ever have periods where you maybe felt down or like lost or like you shouldn't be doing this?
For sure. Yeah. This is actually my second time moving to LA. A lot of people don't know that. I moved to LA in 2018 and I moved downtown. And for a variety of different reasons, my living situation, the job I was working at the time, yada, yada, yada. I just didn't know anything, a dollar and a dream kind of thing. Was working in a recording studio and it just wasn't working out. So I moved back home, and I was super discouraged. Like I was so gung ho, like I can do this. Like I'm special. Everyone who moves to the big city to do something is like, I'm the guy, you know what I mean? And then you get humbled because you get there and you're like, whoa, this is harder than I thought it would be. And you feel down about that. You feel like you're giving up on your dream. I was moving back home. Like everything I was trying to do, I'm leaving it behind. I'm going back home. This is a failure, total failure, and then you feel discouraged and you don't want to make music and you just feel like you should try something else. And then it takes a while to get your rhythm back. And That's happened several times. Some big, some small, but every failure. If you didn't, my buddy always says, you only fail if you didn't learn something. So like I moved there, I tried it, it didn't work out. I learned a lot. I learned what not to do. I learned what it's going to take the next time around. I learned how to do it better. And then you just keep going. So there's been plenty of times where I was just like, I don't think this is going to work out. What am I doing? Am I like, how am I going to make this work? How long is this going to take? That's a lot of the thing is like I said, you be consistent for so long, but nobody cares. You're putting your heart and soul and you think you've got something so special, but nobody else cares. You got your four friends that are like, you're going to be a star, but like nobody else really cares. And that's so discouraging. And you get down and you just go, it's all, it's like this. A lot of people think that it's a roller coaster. And I feel like lately is the most confident I've been. Sometimes it does take a little bit of outside validation to make you feel like you're doing something right. It takes a couple people saying like, I really love what you're up to, and I think you should keep going. And like you should ideally be able to get that from yourself. You should ideally be able to know in your heart that what you're doing is special and you love it, and that's all that matters. So you keep going. But it doesn't hurt to every once in a while have somebody be like, "Hey, I like what you're up to. Keep that up." You're like, "Okay, cool." It's not just me. So yeah, dude, there's been a lot of, and then you have your personal life too. It's like, this isn't, music is most of my life. I spend making music or thinking about music or what's next, but you got your personal life, your family, your relationships, whether they're romantic or friendships, and that affects your, you know, productivity, creativity. And sometimes you go through things personally that affect your career and your trajectory. I've been through my fair share of ups and downs with my family and losing people I care about, and relationships ending and beginning and moving cities and blah blah blah, and that can take a toll on everything. So yeah, there's a lot of ups and downs, but I think that's to be expected. And the quicker you realize that that's what it's going to be like, the easier it becomes. Because in the beginning, the first big hardship or the first big downfall, you feel like, this is the end. But after 10 or 12 of them, you're like, this is just a bump, dude. Tomorrow's going to be all good and we're going to be back to it. So, like, not a big deal. And you become stronger and wiser and all that. But maybe that's just life, I don't know.
Definitely. So you learn to expect the downs, like the lows in your life, and you learn how to
Yeah,
bounce back too.
for sure. Yeah, you gotta. I mean, don't let that get you down. And like when there's a high, ride the hell out of that high and enjoy it. When something pops off, I just had a video do really well, and the release went really well. I was eating it up.
Yes.
Like this is awesome. But like in the back of your head, like a month from now, I might not feel this way. I might be going through something a month from now. I might get some song might flop, some show might have two people show up, some deal might fall through, whatever. But right now, I love this. This is great, and you gotta enjoy it and not let the worry get you. You'll get there when you get there. If the bad part comes, you ride through it. Remember how you were feeling 2 weeks ago, how jazzed you were on music, and how much you love doing what you do. Remember that when things aren't so good, and then you strive for that next moment. And the higher the highs, the lower the lows almost, because you get so excited, and then when something goes bad, you're so bummed because you remember how good it was. But you gotta be able to find balance and ride all that out. Yeah, you got to come to expect it. Yeah, don't expect it and like let it ruin you, and always be worried something bad's gonna happen. But you just get more and more prepared, I guess.
Yeah, man. And can you talk more about that video? I'm assuming you're talking about the DIY
Yeah.
video. Yeah, talk about that blowing
So
up and how that felt and everything.
that was really strange, dude, because I've put out hundreds of videos, maybe more, across all platforms. TikTok, I tried so many. I've made like probably 20 TikTok accounts. I don't know if this apparently was the meta. People were saying, "Oh, you got to make an account." And every seventh account blows up. You know what I mean? So you make 30 accounts of a month. That's BS, bro. I'll tell you right now, it doesn't work. I mean, maybe it works for some people. I've tried it many times. Um, so I've tried everything, dude. I tried YouTube Shorts. I still do. I put out content all the time. I'm very active, and I'm very, aware that content is important. And that was just, it's funny because it always is the thing you're not expecting. You have songs that you think are going to do really well, and you have a super sick marketing plan for it. You get together with people and you're like, this is what we're going to do. These videos are going to be great. They're going to do well. And that was the case of, right before that, I put out a 4-song EP. It's Not That Serious. And we promoted the hell out of that. I did tons of content, and things I thought would go viral, and nobody, like I said, nobody cared. And then this video that blew up was just I'd been seeing online like a lot of people doing, it's like them on the screen, and then there's also some visual aspect, whether that's Ableton or the visualizers or whatever. There was some form of that, just because I think just attention spans are getting to the point where you got to have a lot, it's like the whole Subway Surfer thing down below where the people are
Yes.
talking. You got to have multiple things going on. So I was just trying a new video format, and that just happened to be a track I was working on that day. It's kind of a fluke. I had that song was just like a basic house track. What is the verse now was the drop. And I was just sitting there playing around with the song that day, and I kind of made this build. And I was like, oh, let's just make a crazy drop just for fun, like just something I would never put out. Like, let's just make that just for fun. And I made it, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And so later that night when I'm trying out these new videos, I just pulled that up. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I'll just use this. Was never planning to put that song out, bro. It was just nothing. It was just a demo. It was cool. I come to find out people loved it, but I didn't even think, it's definitely not my current style that I was putting out. So I do the little video, I'm screaming in the microphone, whoa, I'm screaming, I'm doing all silly goose, and people just ate it up, bro. I don't know what Instagram just gave me the little whatever they give you, and people started sharing like this guy's energy, like, and I think it was the culmination of, the algorithm helped me out and did something, and then so many things going on, like I'm yelling into the mic, I'm dancing, the song is wild, the visualizations are going crazy, the Ableton session is doing all sorts of stuff. All that stuff together was just, I guess, so much to take in and look at that you just couldn't help but be hooked. I don't know. But so like I said, the song wasn't done. I had other singles I was working on that I was going to put out. I had just put out that EP, finished rolling out that EP like a week prior. So like I'm thinking, oh, I got, 6 weeks where I can chill and not have anything come out, because I just unloaded 4 songs. Like people got what they want. Like give me a second to get something else going. But that wasn't the case. So the video blew up. It gets 50,000 views, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like this is the best performing video I've ever put out. 50,000 views. I was stoked. Like my manager's texting me. He's like, dude, the video's at 50K. I'm like, dude, let's go. I'm like down visiting family in down in San Diego. And then like all of a sudden it's at 100K, and he's like, dude, have you seen the video? It's at 100K. I'm like, what? And then it's at 250K. I'm like, what the heck's going on? And then someone comment, dude, DJ Snake liked this video, and sure enough, DJ Snake likes it. And I'm like, what? And then like I started getting DMs from all these people that I've always wanted to work. Like Oliver Heldens. I don't know if I could share this. Maybe we'll cut this out. But Oliver Heldens is DMing me, and he's like, send me the song. I want to play it on my radio show. All these artists are hitting me up, and like anybody you can think of is texting me or commenting or whatever. Pretty soon the video has 1 million views, like overnight, bro. I could not refresh quick enough. Like I was trying to respond to comments and messages, like, and I eventually did get to everybody, but I would respond to 100 comments and I'd refresh and there'd be 200 new comments. And I was just like, how do you keep up? How do I, you know what I mean? Like I want to get back to everybody, like I do. And I did. I spent hours sitting there, but pretty soon the video was just so out of control, and everyone's like, is this out? Drop this, the usual TikTok, Instagram buzz. And so I was like, I got to finish this song. So in 9 days, I took that just 10-second snippet that was that idea and built it out into a full track, got a vocal sample on it. And in the 9 days, got the song finished, had my buddy master it. Every time I have like a super aggressive track, like I have him do the mastering because he just knows how to get it just so gritty and you know what I mean? That like I end up squashing it too much, but he just has the sauce. Had him master it. We made the artwork. Me, my manager Jake, and this girl Gina also works on our team. Shout out Gina. She like works on our team with us and helps with the marketing and PR, and she's awesome, and also does graphic design. So we all get together in my house. We bang out the artwork, all the creative direction. We do a photo shoot in my manager's house, like just like a DIY photo shoot. Dude, we DIY the artwork, DIY the photo shoot, create banners for Facebook, SoundCloud, put together a press release, pitch it to all these blogs, upload the song on Spotify, get it ready for release, and continue pushing content. Like what would take normally a month to do in prep, we did in like 3 or 4 days for the release 9 days later. And then the song comes out and the content was all doing really well. Like after that, like I post that one video and everyone's waiting for the next thing. So when I post the next video, like it's coming out in 2 days, everyone's like, yeah, commenting, firing it up. And then finally I posted it's out, and the release day was by a landslide the best release day I've ever had in terms of numbers and engagement and people hitting me up. And it's just been wild, dude, because the song, just like I said, because it's all, you know what I mean? Like why you would think it'd be some video that I was putting a lot of work into that I really wanted to blow up and to promote. So, I put out so many videos, hundreds of videos promoting songs that I actually had already put out. and those get no videos or no views, excuse me. But then the one where I just am like, let's throw this video up there and see what happens. That one is the one that runs up. So I'm just super grateful, bro. It's been wild, and the response has been great, and there's just so many new eyes on the project. And like I said, that outside validation, makes you want to keep going, and somebody else patting you on the back and saying like, you're doing really good. This is sick. Keep going. Like that makes you want to get up every day even more and make music, not just because you love it, but because there's other people out there waiting on it, and you want, you make art, and it's not just about pleasing the audience. You should be happy about the art yourself, but it helps to have those people that are ready to receive it. And we just had a lot of good conversations with, fortunately some people at some labels and some stuff, and, people have been taking interest in the project. And I always say this to like people that I meet, and when I, talk about this music project and growing and putting so much work into it, I always say like, if I could sit down with somebody like we are now for 5-10 minutes and explain the project, explain what Informal is all about, what I'm all about, why I'm doing this, why I love making music so much, what the Informal brand and image stands for, and what I want to put out, and the joy I want to spread in the world with music, and why I do it, why I love it, and then show them the music, they would love it. If I could just spend 5 minutes with everybody showing them the music and showing them what I'm all about and what it's all about for them, they would love it. But you don't get that opportunity. You don't get to sit down with everybody and explain yourself. So you got to do it in 10 seconds on the internet. And so it's really nice to have more people to share what I want to share with. I want to spread joy and positivity with the music. It's all about upbeat, good vibes. Don't take life too seriously. Kick back, relax. It's all going to be good. That's what it's all about. So I'm happy that more people are able to, I guess, see that or consume that content or whatever, because it's an idea I really stand behind and I work at every day. So I'm happy to have people, an audience to share it with.
Yeah, man. And you deserve it. And if you hadn't been consistent and kept putting out content and music, you would have never seen this happen, you know?
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. Like, I think that and it was also, I think, maybe a good thing that it took so long. It took years for this to happen, because I have a back catalog. People found this video and then they go back and they see the 25 songs I put out over 4 or 5 years and all the remixes and all the stuff. And like, oh, okay, this is actually something. If this was my first song I ever made or whatever, that would almost be worse, because they'd be like, oh, this is all he's got, moving on. But they were able to go back and see like all the things I've put in place. And I think that helped a lot, to be able to go back and see the rest of the catalog and have something else to consume.
Definitely. And to become like a real fan rather than just a fan of the song, a fan of you?
Right, right. You get like whatever small percentage of, 1.5 million people watched it, and maybe there's 200 of those people, or whatever it is, would actually come to a show, or really, are messaging me like, I love this. And I'm like, thank you so much. You know what I mean? Like, it's, you always retain a small percentage of the big audience that really love it. But, one fan it's great. You'd rather have 200 people that are really into it and you can build a connection with, than 1 million people who just don't really care.
Mm.
So it's been really good, dude. It's been a blessing. It's been a wild couple months for sure. Really wild. Power of social media is
Yeah,
just
man.
insane.
Yeah, it is crazy. And you never, like you said, you never expect it. And it just
Right.
happens. Yeah, man. I want to talk about the album, or the technically EP that you launched right before this happened. It's Not That Serious. And I saw a video you
Hmm.
made talking about how you have like 100 plus finished songs that you just have not released. And I think this is a problem that a lot of artists have, where they make all this music and then they have trouble actually getting it out there. Is that
Right.
something that you felt? And how often do you actually release a song versus just keep it in your hard drive?
I mean, I think that's something that, every artist or anybody who is creative struggles with. You want to always, you want to share what you are excited about. Like, it should be whatever you as the artist or creator are excited about, but you also want to lead with your best foot forward. You want to put out what you think is your best work that represents you as an artist, but is also quality and is good. So it's a tough balance, because you make songs every day, and then some of them are like and some of them are like, this isn't really my style, like this is fun, but it's not really my style, or I don't think this is good enough. Like, it's fun, like I play it for my friends and like, oh, this is cool, but I don't think it's good enough to come out as a release. And if just, I don't, everybody has that feeling. of perfectionism, of only putting out the stuff that they think is going to be successful, or only putting out the thing they think is their best song ever. You know, everybody wants to put out their next song has to be a hit, or the next song has to be the best song they've ever made, which I don't agree with. I think everybody has, I think it's a sliding scale and everybody has that feeling, some more than others. And for me, I've just been trying to like let go of that for the most part, you know, and just putting out whatever excites me. Like that EP was just that. It was just 4 songs that have been sitting on my computer doing nothing, just collecting dust. I'd make them and I'm like, I don't really like, this is a 140 BPM house song that just loops like the same sample with a ton of white noise. Like, is anybody going to like this? Or like, is this lame? Like this took, you know what I mean? Maybe this song was, I made it really quickly. And I feel like because of that, it's not good enough. Or maybe I felt like it was goofy or something. So, you know, you just kind of, I just got to a point where I was like, I like these songs. Like, I think they're cool. Like I play them when I DJ for my friends, or I've shown my friends and they all like them. And you just kind of, I was just like, screw it. Like, let's just put out, I've got 4 of these. Of all of them that were sitting on my hard drive, these were the 4 that I felt like were the most just ready to, let's put these out, you know? And so I just said, screw it, let's put out 4 songs in 4 weeks rather than stretch them out, you know what I mean? And do the release really slowly. I was like, I just want to put out a bunch of music right now because why not? You know, and they were all just songs that were, didn't feel like a lead single kind of thing, you know, like with a featured vocal, you know, informal featuring blah, blah, blah. And it didn't feel like anything that would play on the radio or whatever. They were all just, most of them were really sped up. One of them was an acapella, didn't have vocals. The other one had some crazy switch up that was just like, you know, they were all over the place. And I think that kind of led to, these are all just the outcasts, I would say, of the group, you know. They're fun, but they don't really belong anywhere else in my discography. Like, let's just put them all out. And it was actually like a really freeing thing to do, to just drop music without really thinking twice about it. You know, there was no like perfect content strategy other than just to talk about the reasoning behind it. Like, it's not that serious. Everybody's so worried about putting out a song and it's going to flop. Who cares? You put out the song, it doesn't do well, moving on. Like, that's not what it's not all about the numbers. You know what I mean? The song doesn't do well, and on to the next thing, dude. Like, it's not a big deal. Just to make the next, you know, you should be always creating. What else? What's next, dude? Like, yeah, that one didn't do well. Some people loved it. Some people hated it. That's better than everybody just liking it. You know, some people listen to that EP and were like, these are all, what's going on here? But I bet a few people were like, this is really cool. That's important, you know? So I think just letting go of perfectionism is a huge, huge thing, especially when you're a producer, because like not only does like the songwriting fall on your shoulders, but also like the sonic quality, like how good it sounds in your ears is a big thing too. So you could write a song you think is really catchy, but you just can't get it to sound crisp and clean and expensive, as they say. And, you know, so there's a multiple layers of perfectionism that come with production, having a catchy song, but also having it sound nice. So you just get so hung up on that and you get so fixed and, this doesn't sound good enough, or this isn't catchy, or I can't get this to mix to sit right. So you just end up scrapping it because you're so frustrated. You work the mix to death, and then by the end of it, you hate it, so you don't put it out because you want it to be so perfect. So I was just like, I'm just gonna let go of that. I just released the songs as they were. Like, yeah, I did a rough mix on them, you know, and then mastered them, and that's just the way they sat. I didn't go back and like, you know, do a whole mix or have anybody come in and do the mix. I was just like, these songs I think are cool as they were. Here they are. You know, one of them I went back in and like made a second drop and just kind of messed it up and sped it up, you know, but they were just kind of the tracks as they were in their raw form. So I don't know. And I think some people resonated with the message of it's not that serious, you know, just put out the music that you like. If you like it, if it psychs you, the songs excited me. I thought they were fun. I'm going to put them out. And I think a lot more people, imagine how many songs, dude, like Skrillex, just for a wild example, you know, he's obviously at the top, but like every producer you can think of, your favorite artist has 20 songs on their computer that they're never going to put out because they thought that the mix wasn't good enough or it wasn't catchy enough or whatever. And it might be their most popular song ever. And they just don't know it, you know, because they don't like it. The one song, Porto, was the song on the EP that did the best. And everybody said, I love this song. That was the one that I was like, this one, it's not, this one's, of all of them, this one's going to flop for sure. Like, people are going to like Pretzels or Euro Club Banger. And people like those, but everyone's like, Porto is so sick. You know what I mean? And I like, so you never know what the response is going to be. And like the DIY thing, I just put that video up as a test run and everybody loved it. It's not that serious. Like, let go of the perfectionism and just put out whatever is exciting to you, because that's what's important, that you as the artist are stoked on it. Because if you're stoked on it and people are fans of you, they'll be stoked on it. If they can see how excited you are about something, that is contagious, like the video, I'm going crazy, I'm excited, people are excited now about it. So it was just all about letting go of the perfectionism and just getting after it and just making music that you love and putting it out and sharing it.
Yes, man. Awesome. And you talked about the DIY video, this maybe you didn't do this on purpose, but this idea of instead of launch or dropping a song and then putting content out afterwards about it, you kind of like launch the idea of the song through content before. And then once it picked up traction, you ended up releasing it. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Hey, sorry, can you rephrase that?
Yeah, so let me try and turn it into a question. How do you feel about the idea of promoting a song before it's really even out yet? Like, for example, the DIY song,
Oh,
even though it
okay.
wasn't even created yet, you were posting content, and then once it received some hype, you then released it. And then you created it and then released
Right.
it. You know?
I think I feel like there's been a shift recently, and there used to be, in the a few years ago or the last year or whatever, in the early days of like short form content, Instagram, TikTok, Reels and TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
when they first, kind of became a catapult for artists. It was all about pre-release content. It was all about teasing a song, for weeks, sometimes for months, dude. People were teasing a song, and finally it would come out, and people ate it up. Now it's a little different. People kind of don't want to wait around for months. Like I see videos where people are just like, dude, if you tease a song and I like it and I go to find it and it's not out, I'm moving on. Like I'm not going to wait around for months. Like there's so much new music coming out that like if you've got somebody's attention, you better act on that. Like the days of teasing a song for months are over. I do still think there's some room for like a little bit of, you know, gauging the audience, like you put out a little snippet of something you really like. What do you guys think? And everyone's like, we love this. And you're like, great, well, it's coming out next week. But like
Mm-hmm.
keeping people waiting for a long time, I think you're shooting yourself in the foot a little bit if you're waiting months. Like that one, my DIY example was an accident. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't trying to promo pre-release, and it just ended up. I mean, we ended up executing in a timely fashion, which was good. But um, yeah, I just think those days of huge pre-release campaigns like way out in advance are kind of behind us. Also, I don't love the idea of just putting something out because it goes viral. A lot of artists in the past have teased 3 or 4 songs, and only the one that gets a lot of traction on social media they release. I don't love that because what if you love the other 3 songs
Mm-hmm.
as an artist? You're like, I think these are my best work, but they didn't go viral on TikTok, so I'm not going to put them out. Where is the artistic integrity if you're just letting some buttons on a screen decide the fate of your music project? I think it's important to, in today's world, to promote your music pre-release and post-release, but I wouldn't let that completely decide how you're going to create music. And sometimes you see some artists have all sorts of diverse music and they're putting out all sorts of different things, and then they have a song go viral and blow up, and then their next 5 releases sound just like that. And like you're just letting what your viral moment dictate now your creativity. You're letting the social media and numbers on a screen put you in a box and just make what you think people are gonna like. So I think there's a fine line to ride there between letting social media dictate what you put out, still having your artistic integrity and your own artistic expression in there. But it's fortunate that you can gauge the audience. You didn't used to be able to do that. You put out a song and then hope people liked it, hope blogs talked about it, or hope whatever. But now you can at least, it's nice to know a little idea of how people are going to receive it. So you know how much to push it, how to push it, whatever. So I think there's a fine line there of pre-release promo and post-release. I think go hard after release. Because people
Mm-hmm.
like, well, in the comments of my video that blew up, where's the song? I can't find it. I'm like, it's not out yet. And they're just like, dude, what the WTF, mate? Where is it? And I'm like, oh, it's coming. I don't know. So like, I think if you're gonna do pre-release promo, be ready. Like, be
Mm-hmm.
quick about it because you only have those people's attention for so long. So, and then just after the release, go hard because you never know who is gonna come across your video weeks after the release. Sometimes I get comments on posts that were from weeks ago. I'm like, what's the name of this song? I'm like, whoa, this is an old video. I'm like, it's called this, whatever. So you never know who's gonna see what when. So you just go hard after the release, really hard, and keep it up. So I think post-release is probably a little bit more important than pre-release now. Pre-saves are cool, because you can do the pre-release promo. get people to pre-save the song. But there's nothing like having an organic traffic to your song where somebody sees your video, they open up Spotify, they search informal DIY and click on the song. That is huge. That is what's going to do the most for you in terms of like Spotify or Apple Music's sharing algorithm or network or whatever. Is organic traffic searching up your name, liking your song, adding it to the playlist. So post-release promo, if somebody's able to see your song on social media and immediately go click and listen to it, that's huge. I think that's that from my experience. I don't know a lot, but I do think that.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, man. You also said that you recently got a manager like a year ago, and before that you did it pretty much all by yourself, right?
All DIY, yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. So everything about this project is DIY. That's just like the anthem now. It fits too because everything about the song and the project is all DIY. Like I said, we do all the album artwork. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. What was the question about the?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah. So I was really just wondering, what has that done for you having this manager, and what have you learned from that experience?
It's huge. It's huge. Everything, I feel like I did a decent job on my own. I built up, it's a lot of trial and error. You try things, you reach out to people, they don't respond. Some people respond. You do all the promo you can. You send out cold emails to labels and blogs and YouTube channels and Spotify playlists. And you try to book your own shows. You schedule the releases on your own. You reach out to somebody to make the artwork on your own. You do everything on your own. You see the people up on stage DJing and you see them in the studio making music, but there's so much behind the scenes in terms of planning and marketing and the business side and making sure you're all set up to get paid correctly and collect royalties correctly and license everything correctly and set up all your social media channels and then everything flows. And if you want to sell merch, set all that up. And, there's contracts that come and you got to know how to read them and understand what's going on, and you can get taken advantage of pretty easily. So having somebody on your team that is an extra set of eyes and ears on everything, whether it's, you send them the song and what do you think of where should we put this in our release schedule, or helping book shows, helping with the, direction of the brand and getting feedback and help planning content and just everything, it's just like Jake, my manager, dude is a rock star. Dude is a absolute rock star, dude, like powerhouse. And it's night and day, the difference between being on my own and having, I don't know if this is everybody's experience with a manager or if this guy's just like the best of all time, but it's been great. Like I said, having somebody else to, hop in on the conversation on everything and bounce everything. You work as a team now. You got somebody else in your team. It's like starting a business and now you got somebody else working the business with you. And it's been great to, now you have all of your connections in the industry as well as their connections in the industry. You've just doubled your network essentially. You've doubled the productivity, the work ethic, and ideally the person that you decide to work on the team with you as management is just as hungry for success and is just as passionate about the project as you are. Jake and I found each other because he was a fan of my music at the time. And this is actually a funny story. He posted on, like Spotify posts like your Wrapped or whatever at the end of the year, and everyone's always sharing their top 5 artists and whatever. So he shared on his story that I was like one of his top 5 artists or one of the top songs or whatever. And then also these other guys, Science, they're like an electronic duo. I'm sure you've heard of them. Cool guys. We were both on the top 5. So I said like, maybe we should collab. Like I reposted the story and then I was like, Science, you want to collab or something like that? And then he responded, he's like, that actually would be sick. And then, how did this go, dude? Oh yeah. So this is like a couple weeks before Coachella. Sorry. This is years ago or a couple years ago. So this is a couple weeks before Coachella. And then I'm at Coachella and this is like a typical music industry story at Coachella. He like hits me up. He's like, are you at Coachella? I'm like, yeah. He's like, dude, let's meet up. Like, I want to meet you. So we met up and like hung out and just kind of like really connected, and talked about music. And then once, I think at Coachella, he was like, yo, I'm really love what you do with the project. Like, I'm super interested and I like work in the music industry. I'd love to talk about working together. Like, do you have a manager? I'm like, no, I don't. He's like, I'd love to get involved. Like, I love what you're doing. I see the vision. I believe in it. I'd love to get together and talk about it. And then the next week we sat down and, like I said, he was really passionate about what was going on and he had been working in the music industry a long time, doing like production and interned at some management companies and some labels and stuff. So he had kind of worked in all different facets of the music industry and was just passionate about music and wanted to try his hand at artist management. And it just really worked out. Like we became good friends, which I think is important. We're pretty similar guys and have a lot of similar interests, and we get along really well. So it was really easy to start working together, and things have just been, like I said, it's night and day. All of a sudden, everything was just organized. Like before, it was just like, it's just me and my laptop. Just, well, oh, where's that file? I don't know. Let me find it. You know what I mean? Give me 20 minutes. But like now he's like setting up folders and Google calendars, and now I'm in Slack, bro. I had no idea what Slack was. We're we got like 25 Slack channels. It's so organized. Everything is in the right place. We're, sending threads back and forth, and the organization has been huge. And like he, is just a business guy and is like super motivated and really, really smart guy. So it's just like, it's, I don't know, you just having double the skill set, double the network, double the everything. It's great. It's like, I think that, there's a reason that, you look at the biggest artists in the world and they got big teams, because it takes multiple people, to grow. And the growth since we've been together has been astronomical, started playing more shows, I don't think I had played any shows since we got together. And then we got together and all of a sudden, like we played like 3 shows in 3 months after we got together, because it just all started working out. So I think it's huge having a good team around you. And I'm very fortunate that Jake took an interest in the project and is involved, and he's awesome, and everything's just been great. I think it's huge. I think it's a huge, very necessary. And I also think, I'll end with this. I don't want to ramble, but I, for a long time, wanted a manager and like didn't know how to find one. I'm like, I think I need a manager. Like there's so much like to do. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. Like I don't know how to navigate this, or how to hit these people up, or how to get in touch with these people, or how to do XYZ. And I'd always ask other artists, like, how'd you meet your manager? What's this? And they would always say, like, they'll find you, like, the classic, build it and they will come. You get tired of hearing that. You get tired of hearing, just be patient. You know what I mean? I'm done being patient. Like, I want results. And that's exactly what happened. One day we connected. He said he had an interest in the project, and here we are now. So it did just take being consistent and doing as much as you can on your own. Like, don't get discouraged that you're on your own, because there's people out there watching that are interested. You know what I mean? I had no idea that this guy was interested in managing my project until we met up and shook hands, and he was like, I like what you're doing. So I just had to keep trying and trying and trying and doing the best I could on my own and building the best I could, until somebody came along. So I think that build it and they will come is true. It sounds like a cliche, but I think that's why it's a cliche. It's because it's the truth.
Yeah. And then you had someone you got to share this excitement with too when you started blowing up, like very recently.
For sure. Yeah. Well, and just navigating it, because you don't know what to do. Like I said, I had no idea what to do. I was like, what do we do now? I have no idea. Like, this has never happened, And he's like, I don't know either, bro. Like, this has never happened to me either. But we're like, looking at other, case studies of people where it's happened, and we're like, I think we should do this. We should try this. And, you don't make any irrational decisions, because you've got somebody else to be like, is this a good idea? Yes. Okay, let's do this. Okay, now let's do this. What do you think of that? Well, let's go over how this went, and so yeah, it's helps have somebody navigate the choppy waters when things get crazy, when things are good and when things are bad. I said it's like this, and he's been there for me when things are bad, and I tell him, I'm like, dude, this isn't working out. Like, how long is this going to take? Like, I've tried everything, and he's like, just be patient. And then a week later, this video blows up and everything's different. And he's like, see, like, if I, if he wasn't there to tell me just hang in there, who knows? Maybe I would have given up a bit, or not tried as hard, or whatever, not stuck in there and kept putting out videos, like I did. So yeah, having a team is huge. And then that, like I said, this girl Gina we work with, she's great. Similar thing, just having the team and other people at the band. We have a group chat. We're always sending each other stuff and marketing, content ideas. And like I said, she's worked in music PR, so she knows how to navigate that world. So she's been great. We just designed some new merch. She did the logo for them. I know it's backwards on the screen, but I just put a bunch of new merch on my store, and she designed the logo for that, and everything looks so great. So just having the team is huge. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a graphic designer. I would never have been able to put this together.
Yeah.
I used like Comic Sans on Canva.com would have been my best. You know what I mean? Like, I got nothing. Or I could have paid somebody $500 to do it, but you got the team, everybody's working together. It all works out.
Yeah. And multiple people to believe in the project too,
Yeah. Yeah, that really helps. Having the encouragement constantly is great,
Yeah, man. I assume everyone lives in LA too. You live in LA, and your manager.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, we're all right here within a couple miles of each other, which is incredibly convenient, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, man. A lot of people don't move to LA, but like I'm assuming there's a lot of benefit to living in LA if you want to be in the music business. Do you
I
agree
would say
with that?
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as much as everything is on the internet now,
Mm,
social media, you could live in, you know, where Zimbabwe and still post videos on Instagram and reel. I mean, you could live anywhere in the world and engage with the same community that I'm engaging with on the internet. You don't need to live here in Hollywood to do that. But
mm,
there is something to, I go to like every event I can find, every networking opportunity, every show I can go to, and I'm like, oh, I know that this artist, like, this is something that I do that I believe in that maybe some other people don't do, but I do. Like if there's some show and I know the manager is some person I want to meet and be friends with, I will go to the show to not only see the show because maybe I like the artist, but I know that the manager looks like. I'm gonna go up and find him, shake his hand, tell him I love what they've been doing. My name is Sam. I go by Informal. I love what you guys are up to. I'd love to sit down with you and talk for 5 minutes about any advice you could give me. So that's
mm,
been huge. Living in LA, I got every venue you can think of is right down the street. Every club, somebody's playing at the Roxy. You go to the Roxy, you go to the show, you meet the manager. There's some networking cocktail event, you go to that. There's some, I used to work in a recording studio. I got buddies that work in recording studios. Being in the studios is huge. You never know who you're gonna walk by and who you're gonna meet or whatever. So just being in the city um, is great, and you just meet so many people that it's not the same. You can make friends on the internet for sure, but there's nothing like running into somebody and making a genuine connection, and you never know
mm,
what that's going to do for you. Like Ronnie, the guy, my last EP, Informal Beach Club, I did. This guy Ronnie Lloyd did all the creative for all the photography, videography, graphic design. Dude is a savage. He's awesome. Right now, he's doing tour management for Slow Magic on his tour. Um, and I met him through this guy, Brett Blackman, who runs Moving Castle Records and URL, IRL management, or URL to IRL, manages like Manila Killa, Hotel Garuda, those guys. And I met Ronnie Lloyd through Brett. I had just always watched Brett, what he was doing. I always admired what he was up to. He manages all these great artists. And I was always like, I want to meet that guy. I want to be friends with that guy. That guy seems cool. And I love what he's up to. So, like, I made a point to go to a show of an artist that he manages and shook his hand. And I said, I like what you're doing. Like I said, can I talk to you for 10 minutes and just get some advice? He says, yep, we meet up. I ask him a bunch of questions. I tell him I'm putting out an EP soon and I don't know what to do about the graphic design, the videography, all that stuff. And he's like, oh, Ronnie Lloyd is the guy you want to talk to. And I had
mm,
coincidentally seen his work with OK. He does stuff for OK as well and Madion. And I was like, I know him. Like, I've heard of him. And I call him up and I'm like, I'd love to work with you on this EP. And I said, Brett told me about you. And he said, any friend of Brett's is a friend of mine. And then here we are working together. Like if I would have just cold DM'd him, hey, I'm putting out an EP, I want to work with you, he'd probably be like, I'm busy. First of all, like, dude's really busy, and like, I don't know you, like, let me get back to you. But because I had that connection and I was able to just be like, this guy referred me to you, and you guys are friends and you both respect each other, it worked out. So having those, and that's just one example of like having a real connection with somebody that LA. I'm sure that it's this way in New York too, but and cities like Miami and where this music industry is active, in Nashville, and cities overseas. But just having everything right here at your disposal, and everybody here is a creative. Not everybody, but the creative community is so large, and you can go
mm,
down the street and see some undiscovered artist just kill it, some acoustic set or some jazz band in a club or some DJ who in 2 months from now could be the biggest star in the world is playing at the local club for 25 people. Like just having that opportunity is huge, and it's just inspiring to walk outside every day and just be inspired. You just walk around and you see all this
mm.
stuff and you see what everybody's up to, and there's just so much culture and music and fashion, and everybody's just getting after it here. Everybody's working towards
Yes,
something, and
yes.
that can create that just creates a great environment to be creative in and to be motivated in. It can get to you, like you could let it get to you, and but as long as you let it inspire you, I think it's important and I think it's valuable. I think there's value. You pay a lot to live here, but I think there's value in it. And the
You're
weather's
here for a
great,
reason.
bro. Yeah,
Yeah.
the weather's great. We got the
On
beach
top of
right
that.
there.
Yeah.
The food is great.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah,
man.
can't complain. It's great.
How do you find these networking events, Sam?
A lot of them are just shows, just like smaller,
Mm,
shows at venues of, like I just know all the clubs in town and I just look up who's
Mhm.
playing or whatever. And sometimes you come across some Instagram post where some company will be throwing a networking event. Like I can't remember. I went to one that was some, they do like industry talks. Like some companies will do like an industry talk where it's at some place, there's a stage, there's two chairs, and they've got four people that come up and speak for 20 minutes each. One of them's an artist, one of them's a manager, one of them's a booking agent, and one of them is a audio engineer, whatever. And then, they like this, they sit there, they ask them questions, and you learn from them. And you get to not only watch those people talk about their thing, but the guy next to you is also a struggling artist. And maybe that
Mhm.
you see what's up with them, talk to him or her and say, what's going on? What are you here for? Oh, I'm an artist. And then all of a sudden you guys are collaborating and you guys are friends. So those industry talks events, I forget, I've been to a couple of them and I can't remember who puts them on, but those are all the time, and that's just super valuable because the people in the crowd that everybody there works in the industry and is all going for a similar thing, and then the information you get from hearing somebody talk about their own experience is just priceless.
Mhm.
And then going to shows is just fun. It's just a kick-ass time to go to a club and get in the crowd and dance and have some drinks and get sweaty and have a good time. And then who knows who you're going to meet on the dance floor. You end up seeing, like I said, the manager out back in the smoking patio or something, and it's like Sound Nightclub is a great example. Sound Nightclub here in Hollywood, they have like a patio in the back, and that's just like networking the zoo, like like the networking zoo. You go back there and it's just like everybody's out there chopping it up, talking about music. Everybody out there somehow is in the industry because
Mhm.
everybody's dancing inside, but then other industry people are out back talking, and so you just go out there and you're like, let's what's up, man, what do you do? So that kind of stuff, just not being afraid to go up to a complete stranger and say what's up. I think that
Yeah.
a lot of people have, are introverted or have social anxiety, but getting over that hump and just being able to go up to somebody and ask them what their name is and what they do could be huge. Or
Mhm.
somebody, you see people on the internet all day and then you see them out in the club and you recognize them. You're like, oh my God, that's so and so. Oh my God, that's Ted. And then you go say, what's up, Ted? A lot of people are afraid to go say hi to Ted. You got to go say hi to Ted. You know,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
my advice.
Awesome, man. I want to know what is on the radar. What's coming up for the next like 5 years for Informal? Where do you see the project going, and what are you planning?
That's a great question. 5 years. I just want to continue to put out the best music I can, I think. And I think at this point, scaling the project, like I said, I've found my sound. I think I've discovered the music that I like making. That's ever changing, obviously, but I think I've gotten myself in a lane in terms of my production that I really love and I can stand behind. So I think continuing to put out music and write cool stuff. And I feel like I've there's kind of this joke that's been going around with my team and then on social media that like I have no idea what kind of music I make, and I've just kind of leaned into that. Like I don't even know what genre I'm making. Like I just made before we got on the call, I was making a drum and bass song, and before that, I was making some glitchy house song. But they were fused. You know what I mean? I don't even know what kind of music it is. So I think leaning into that and just putting out music that's just genre bending and just kind of making whatever I want and not falling into a box. And I think growing the project. I'd love to tour. I'd love to build a really really cool live show that's like a great experience for the audience. I see people that have like a hybrid setup where they DJ and they play some live stuff. I'd love to develop a live set like that and do a tour, whether it's a headline tour or supporting for somebody. Um, I'd love to start playing more shows in clubs. I think I'm kind of right there, getting to where I could start maybe opening for some people at clubs and then getting some headline shows at clubs. Because I love playing, I love DJing, I love working the crowd, I love having, I feel like I got good stage presence and I'm up there having a good time. And like I said, that's contagious. So I love being on stage. I'd love to be on stage more. Obviously, if I could throw some bucket list things out there, I want to play Tomorrowland. I want to play in Hakkasan in Las Vegas. I want to play in Miami. I want to play in New York. I want to play, you know, tomorrow at Coachella, whatever, like all those things. Everybody's got their bucket list, but I think just continuing to grow the project and bring, like I said, just the joy of how much I love making music and I love what I'm doing, and just bringing that to more and more people, scaling the project, building. Um, and I think collaborating more. I love collaborating. For a long time, I didn't have a lot of experience collaborating. I was making everything on my own in my room, just on my laptop. Like I would overproduce songs because I didn't know any vocalists or songwriters or singers. So I would just fill the song up with random stuff. But I feel like now I've got a nice network of singer songwriters, and I'd love to continue working with upcoming or just anybody, you know what I mean? Cool singers and songwriters that, um, that write great music. And it's, recently I've been collaborating more and having sessions with other people, and I'd love to continue doing that and do more of that. I'd love to do more collaborations with other producers too. I think collaboration is huge and it puts you out of your comfort zone. So I'd like to do that more. I've obviously got a list of artists that I'd really love to work with and get in the studio with. But really just anybody I can get in the studio with and chop it up. It's you get in the studio with somebody and you like I said, you buddy up and you become friends, and then the music part just is effortless. You just start. I got a really good friend, Grant. He goes by Eula, the artist Eula. And we've been good friends for a long time, but we get in the studio and we just goof around and we just have so much fun, and like the music just comes effortlessly because we just are having a good time. So just doing that, more of getting in the studio with real people, like, and really getting in there and making music with people. Um, Love to do that. Just continue putting out music, and who knows what the next few years are going to bring in terms of right now. It's the content is everything. Everyone's just you're trying to make just as much content as you are music. It's probably not going to be like that in 2 years, or it's going to be different. So I'm just looking forward to whatever's next, and whatever happens next. I'm excited to see what that avenue looks like and give that my all and grow the project, play some shows, put out some great music. Um, you know, Headline Tomorrowland would be would be kick ass. Tomorrowland for some, you know what I mean? Everybody wants to play EDC, everybody wants to play Coachella, everyone wants to play Lollapalooza. Tomorrowland for, like I said, I watched that 2011 After movie. That was 12 years ago. Geez. But that's always in the back of my head. Just Tomorrowland. I just is my dream. I've never even been. I want to go, first of all, but I'd love to play, even if I'm the side stage with 4 people. Just to be there would just be so cool. So
Yeah.
I've definitely got some big lofty goals, but I really believe in the project, and I got a team that believes in me, and I'm not giving up anytime soon. So
No.
just gonna
Yeah,
continue
man.
working.
Awesome, man. Oh, I'm really excited to see where it goes, and I really appreciate you coming on and talking to me. I learned
Dude,
so much. Yeah.
absolutely, bro. I love what you're doing. I love this is cool, dude. I love the podcast. It's great.
Thanks, man. I appreciate
I'm
it.
excited.
I want to give you some time to first say where can people find you, and then what do you want to promote?
Yeah, every social media platform is just at usually it's just at informal.mp3. If you just type in informal with the period at the end, they'll probably pop up on Instagram. I'm not super active on Twitter, TikTok. Like I said, I just restarted a new account, but I've been more active on there. YouTube. All my music is on YouTube. Um, yeah, everywhere. Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, Deezer, Napster, whatever you name it. It's type in informal, it'll pop right up. Um, but yeah, dude, in terms of promotion, I mean, DIY, that track is out, as you know. That's been great. I've just been loving the support on that. So if you haven't heard that one, go check that one out. Surprise, I'm putting out the extended mix of that song. A lot of people, were asking for an extended mix, a longer version. DJs were like, the song's not long enough. Like, I want to DJ it. Put out a longer version. And I was like, okay, because I could use it too. I could use an extended version for DJing. So I made an extended mix. That's coming out on the 3rd, I want to say, which is next Friday. So November 3rd, that's coming out. We may or may not be doing a remix package for the song. I don't know. Some remixes from some people. I don't know. That's still in the works. So look out for that if that's coming. I'll be sure to keep you updated. Trying to do that. Trying my absolute best to do that. Because a lot of people, hit me up and like, I love to remix this track. So hopefully we can put out the remix pack. That'd be great. Like I said, we just got all the new merch out. The new merch I think is really cool. We've got, a crew neck sweater, some really cool shirts, a tote bag, a koozie. Keep your bevy cold, Koozie's really sick. It's probably my favorite thing on the store. It's $5, but it's like the coolest thing on there, I think. So the merch is out. And then just a bunch of new singles. I've got a remix I'll probably be dropping here in a couple weeks. Working on a couple more, hoping to clear those. And then just a bunch of new singles. I've got a bunch, like I said, I've been doing a lot of sessions with a lot of people. So some singles coming up either late this year or early next year that I'm really, really excited about, like real collabs where I sat in the room with the artist and we cooked something up together that I've just been loving everything. So yeah, dudes, there'll be a lot of music, I'm trying to be consistent. So a lot of music coming up, DIY, that song's out. Everyone's been running up. Super grateful for that. The extended version, hopefully the remixes. And then just the singles, and then just the support has already been so great. I'm just happy to I'm just happy to be consistent and just keep doing what I'm doing, and the love has been great. So I feel like the support's already there. So just thank you to everybody. I guess I would love to say that.
Yes.
But yeah, dude, informal on all the platforms and the streaming platforms and the social media and all that.
Awesome, Dan. Sam, thanks again. This has been really good. I love your energy. It
Dude, of
makes me
course. Thank you
excited
very much.
myself. Yeah.
I'm excited. You know what I mean? Like, I love talking about I love geeking out on the music world and music, not even just the technical stuff, but just the music world is so fascinating to me in the industry. And I'm just happy to be a part of it. I always say, I'm just happy to be here. I love doing this. I love the energy of the music world, especially the electronic world. So to be able to participate in it and put out art that people are consuming in any degree is just, I feel like the luckiest guy in the world. And I'm just, I'm grinning ear to ear every day, waking up, making music. So I'm just happy to be here. I love what I do. I love things like this, getting to talk about it. You know what I mean? Because not all my friends know music, so I don't get to geek out over this stuff all the time, So being able to talk about the journey and everything in the process in music, dude, I could sit here for 3 hours and get technical with you about production if you want to. If you want to end the recording and talk shop, I'm down. But
Let's do it. Yeah.
so yeah, I'm just happy to be here. So I appreciate you having me on, bro. It's been great. You're awesome. The questions are great, and so I'm just happy to the opportunity to share my story and everything. So thank you for hitting me up and getting me on here. I really appreciate it.
Definitely. Awesome. Awesome. I'm gonna stop the recording.